Alrighty. Hello, everybody. Your boss, Joe Boss, and welcome to another daily plan. We got some Fed speeches up ahead, Canadian PMIs. Let me go ahead and send out the stream link here. Bada-bum, bada-bum. Copy the event link, send out an announcement. Okay. Let's get right on into things. Any questions or updates needed from yesterday? Things are pretty straightforward. Oh, on the chart was a trade I took in the trading group after the stream. Went long on the yield spreads flip here. Saw the yield spreads go negative around here, so exited, waited a bit, went short, held in drawdown for, what's that, roughly, call it 1, 2, 3, 4 hours. Fifth hour came down. It's in a bit of profit right now. So we'll keep an eye here on this Aussie. How are equities looking? Oh yeah, equity markets aren't going to be opening for a good minute here. Alright. FX heat map. Man, things are looking relatively more normal today. Aussie actually is up against most pairs, especially against the dollar and the euro. Dollar is pretty much down against everything. Chinese yuan is down against everything. Pretty much Aussie and Kiwi are kind of killing it today. Swissy and yen are doing okay. The euro is getting slaughtered except against the US dollar. Yeah, the big winner so far today looks like the Australia. Yeah, that looks like the big winner so far today. Yeah, we can see those negative spreads start to come in. What are things looking like on the daily? Let's go up here. Let's just go down the charts. These are pretty negative spreads here, so that's giving me some confidence of staying short here. On the New Zealand side of things, we have RBNZ tomorrow, technically later tonight. Yeah, later tonight. I scheduled another stream for like 12 hours from now. Hello, Ari. Nice to see you, my man. Yeah, we got RBNZ in a bit. What was their expected move again? I believe the new expectations are for them to cut, if I recall correctly. Let me go to my notes here. Let's see. RBNZ they're fully expected to cut today. And then there's a QSBO survey today, too. Did that already come out? Let's see here. New Zealand QSBO. Yeah, it's already out. Here, let's go ahead and bring it up over here. So let's see here. QSBO shows continued lift in business confidence. Quarterly survey of business opinion. All right. Shadow Board recommends a 25 basis point. What's that all about? Let's see here. Let's read the media release. Yeah. Net 23% of firms expect general economic conditions to improve over the coming months on a seasonally adjusted basis, up from 9%. So that's actually a nice sentiment boost for New Zealand. That's actually pretty good. That might make New Zealand longs in the future something that I end up watching. But again, these spreads got to flip more positive. Let me just keep an eye. What's the price I gotta watch out for here? Let's call it 60-40. We'll see how well that ends up holding. All right, let's keep going here. The building sector is no longer the most upbeat. Okay. Retail sector is the most upbeat. Okay. With net 24% expecting an improvement in the general economic outlook for the coming months. Okay. Cost pressures in the retail sector also intensified, which likely reflects the impact of the lower New Zealand dollar in rising the price of imported goods. Gotcha. The lower New Zealand dollar is likely a key contributor to this, showing mixed results of costs and pricing indicators in the sentiment survey here. Given the increased costs to imported goods, meanwhile, the proportion of firms that raised prices in March remained historically low. Okay, so it looks like businesses are eating the increase in costs here. Inflation should be contained in New Zealand. Okay, capacity utilization, continuing dominance of firms, reporting lack of sales as the primary constraint to their business suggests the weak demand remains a key concern. Okay, cool. And then what's this? Shadow Board recommends an OCR cut of 25 basis points in April. I know this is stuff for tonight's stream, technically, the stream that's going to be coming later today. Again, I put it up on the schedule. It's on the YouTube channel. We have Ueda speaking, the Bank of Japan governor, and the RBNZ decision. Now, the stream will start after the RBNZ decision already occurred. So if you want to actually hang out and chat and trade with people in like a voice chat streams and whatnot, you can hop into the Plan the Profit Discord. I'll probably be on when this is going down, sharing my screen in there. Okay. Yeah, most Shadow Board members agreed that the 25 basis point cut is justified in April as inflation is contained and activity in New Zealand's economy remains soft. Okay. Pretty straightforward. Anything new here on the board? We got some commentary here from Basent.
President Trump has maximum negotiating leverage right here, right now. And I think it would be a mistake for anyone to think otherwise. And as I said, many of our trading partners, they have queued up and they have kept their cool. They have not escalated, and they will get priority in the queue. I think it was a big mistake, this Chinese escalation, because they're playing with a pair of twos. Traditionally, if you look at the history of the trade negotiations, we are the deficit country. So what do we lose by the Chinese raising tariffs on us? We export 1/5 to them of what they export to us. So that is a losing hand for them.
All righty. Thank you, Basent, for the commentary. And CAD is doing all right. Seems fairly risk on. Gotta watch out on this one, though. Also, don't we have the election in Australia coming up here shortly? Let me go to the Discord here and go to the research forum. I'll bring this up. So in Discord, we have a research forum. Let's go to the elections tag here in the forum. There you go. Australian federal election. And then if we go to the pins. Oh. I just want to view the pins. I didn't actually want to pin. I pin this. For a sec, I thought I pinned that post. I just want to view the pins. So these are the major players in the election and their respective parties. Let's go here. May 3rd. Okay, so it's pretty much around the corner. We're gonna, over the next 2 weeks, we're gonna start getting some more heavy commentary and economic promises probably out of Australia. Also, it does look like Albanese might end up winning. I was just watching this. I posted it, I believe, in economics. The Roy Morgan Australia latest video here. And in it, they include economic analysis. Let's see here. Oh, yeah, it's like the first thing that they mentioned.
Melbourne poll shows the Albanese government strengthening its lead.
Albanese government strengthening its lead over coalition. So coalition is for this guy here. Oh. Let's go back to the research forum. Albanese is the incumbent. Dutton is for coalition here. So the opposition is down in the polls, and Albanese seems like he's on his way to win again.
Until election day, and early voting starting in only 2 weeks. If a federal election were held now, the ALP would be returned to government with an increased majority. The ALP on 53.5%, up 0.5% just from a week ago, ahead of the LNP coalition on 46.5% on a two-party preferred basis. That's according to the latest Roy Morgan survey. The Roy Morgan survey in the first week of March was the first poll to pick up the shift in support towards the ALP and away from the coalition, and this trend has continued to build. The coalition's political mistakes were on display in recent days, like the opposition leader
this is
Peter
why
Dutton
the coalition has
announcing
been
his main
losing.
residence would be at Kirribilli House in Sydney, followed by the working from home backflip, ditching the controversial policy to force Commonwealth public servants back to the office. He also walked back a commitment to slash 40,000 public service jobs to cut spending, with the coalition to now
So
rely
backpedaling.
on
That's why coalition has been losing the polls recently. And don't really want to be seeing that so close to the election. Exclusive Reuters, Musk's Doge using AI to snoop on U.S. federal workers. Isn't that just what monitoring employment software is nowadays? Well, what's the use of AI? Using AI to surveil at least one federal agency's communications for hostility to Trump. Oh, okay. Yeah. If they're doing it for hostility to Trump, that's not That's not a good look. But then again, the same exact software was used in a lot of these tech companies to oust anyone who is even mildly conservative. So again, it's the whole thing with, oh, you know, they're outing people who don't like Trump, but they could just be finding people who have DEI policies who aren't enforcing the DEI executive order that Trump signed. Until more information comes out about that, more specifics, then we'll see. Okay, Europe experienced its warmest March. Gotcha. All right, Bob Elliott. There are no signs the new administration is willing to scale back their tariff efforts. Typically, a near 20% decline in equity markets would cause policymakers to rethink their actions, but the new administration has shown no indication of any give yet. Yeah, I'd say that's pretty straightforward. And then it's just a bunch of clips. Probably the most fitting of all the responses. The weekend finished off with a dismissive response on the possibility of a change in policy, saying sometimes you have to take medicine to fix something. Oh yeah, I remember this.
I think it's perfectly in the world, which is what it should be.
Is there a Trump put though? Is there pain in the market?
Is there a Trump
At
put?
some point you're unwilling to tolerate this idea of a Trump put. Is there a threshold?
I think your question is so stupid. I think it's I don't want anything to go down, but sometimes you have to take medicine to fix something, and we have such a horrible. We have been treated so badly by other countries because we had stupid leadership that allowed this to happen. They directly in the world.
There you go. Let's go ahead and turn on Financial Juice. So if you hear someone else speaking, it's going to be our friends over at Financial Juice. All right, let's head on over back to the charts. Looks like things are climbing a bit here. Just a tad. Not a big deal. How is Euro holding up? Euro's all right. Let's go ahead and check out crypto. Oh, Bitcoin had a nice little pop here in the last hour. All right. XMR doing all right. Ethereum doing okay right now. Hey, XRP looks like it's on its way higher. It's doing a pretty good job here, trying to get back to 2 cents there. Solana also holding up, and Cardano also in the same boat, probably in a better position than XRP in my position. Lucky Gold. Yeah. Yeah, I can go ahead and check out some commodities here. Let's go ahead and check out gold. Gold seems like it's holding up. Gold's had a nice bit of recovery the last, how many hours from here? 16 hours. So it seems to be doing okay. Crossed back above 3,000. We'll see if it ends up holding 3,000. And oil is just hovering and stuck around this $60, $61 spot at the moment. So no crazy news here. We had this spike and that got sold off, man. Pretty bad future expectations here for oil. Let's check out the major equity indices. Oh, wow. Yeah, S&P just cracked a new high, intraday high, that is. NASDAQ doing okay. Dow's doing pretty good right now. The Nikkei also holding in there. A lot of these charts are looking pretty similar, but Europe, Europe is having a slower rise back. And New Zealand is just getting walloped. right now. But look at the the Australian stock market. Wow, this is like the best looking chart we've seen so far. The Australian stock market is doing really well right now. Really, really well right now. So let's go ahead, pull that up. Yeah, maybe. I mean, these spreads are still so freaking negative. Yeah, let's see how it turns out going into US market open here, which is in about 8-ish minutes. Let's turn on financial juice, make sure that's going. Yep, financial juice is going. Morning prep here. Okay, this is all review. Chapollone gives introductory statement at hearing on the digital euro before a committee. All right. UK's PM Starmer speaks before the liaison committee. Bank of England's Lombardelli speaks at a panel. Daly speaks. Moderated discussion on the economic outlook. No text, and there will be a Q&A. And then Trump participates in an executive order signing event around 1500 Eastern. So that's 3 p.m. Eastern. So we'll be checking that out in the Trump Watch thread over in Discord. Okay, that's funny. Come on. Where'd that go? There it is. Waking up to the stock market up. I don't know what could do this in 2025. This is funny, man. Always enjoy when I get a meme in these timelines here. Let's go ahead and check out the heat map. Meta, Nvidia, Amazon, I've recovered a bit. The net things are still pretty bad here. Crypto, yeah, crypto is doing a-okay so far. Let's see. Forex, crypto, economy. The crypto stuff is just a bunch of noise. Alrighty. So 5 more minutes till New York Open. We'll see how things hold up. So far, things are looking good. Yeah, and pre-market, Nvidia's up. Nvidia is actually doing pretty well today, making a new high. About Apple? Apple is pretty sluggish at the moment. It's like creeping higher. It's not doing all that well. Amazon's doing pretty good. And coin is just kind of holding steady there at 161. Nothing crazy. ARK is also seeing a rebound. Yeah, what else do you guys want me to check out? Let's see here. Any other major events to watch out today? So go ahead and I check out the calendar, and Red Book is in an hour. You have Canadian PMIs in a bit. It seems like most of, at least on the FX side of things, most of the major events, economic events, are going to be later today. And then, of course, you have Trump coming out. That'd be at 12, so it'd be right after Daly's speech before these API crude oil stock changes come out.
According to a memo, the US Justice Department disbands its National Cryptocurrency Enforcement Team.
Is there a dot plot for the RBNZ? I don't think so. I've never seen a dot plot for the RBNZ. Yeah, I have not seen a dot plot for the RBNZ before. Let's see. Oh, wow, you're a pound. Falling through here. That's some other economic information coming in and moving these prices here. Euro CAD. Euro's kind of getting walloped here. Yeah. Across the board. Again, Aussie's doing pretty good right now. Australia's doing pretty good. Maybe that has something to do with Albanese getting a higher probability of winning the election and thus inducing a more stimulatory government to induce more growth out of Australia. And that would put Australia in a similar boat to Europe, where when Europe did all their stimulus, well, specifically Germany, right? When Germany did all their economic stimulus, you ended up with this boon of more positive growth expectations out of Europe. We could see something similar happen with Australia. If that is the case, if that assumption that the Albanese government will do more fiscal policy stimulus. How effective that'll be, I don't know. But if that is the case, then yeah. These higher prices here make sense. Also, that should be like that. I'm still looking at these spreads here. I'm like, it kind of puts a damper on my expectations here. Things are still pretty bad. And when the spreads get that negative, I try not to trade against them.
Secured overnight financing rate 4.33% April 7th versus 4.35% April 4th.
Is there a dot plot for the Fed? I mean, yeah. But the Fed isn't meeting for a good bit here. They meet next week. The Fed, I believe, meets next week. I could be misremembering. No, that's the ECB and the Bank of England. That's right. The ECB and the Bank of England meet next week. So it's going to be pretty quiet. Oh, and do we just have the markets open here? Nope. Well, we're now at 5 a.m. here, so we're now in New York session. So we want to see how New York session holds up here. So let's see how this next hour goes. Man, Australia's stock market is just killing it today. Yeah, dude, the Australian stock market is the best performing in the world right now of the equity indices, it seems. Let's see here. Yeah, gold's still holding in there. Bitcoin. We'll see how well that turns out. And those altcoins are still ripping here. These things are still doing pretty okay. They're up 3-4%. All right. Chevron just trying to peter up a bit. So it'll open up. It'll gap up today. Needless to say, maybe the worst of Black Monday is, it might be too early to say, but the worst of Black Monday seems to be over. At least most of the peak in the volatility seems to be over from here. Because going forward, what are the other major expectations we have around tariffs? Either we start to see negative economic data come in from these tariffs getting implemented, poorer economic data, or
Micron tells US customers it will impose a tariff-related surcharge on some products from April 9th, according to sources.
or we kind of see status quo of the trend we've
The US
seen,
memory
at least
chip
for the
maker
last couple months.
Micron has told US customers it plans to impose a surcharge on some products from Wednesday to account for Trump's new tariffs, according to 4 sources familiar with the matter said.
Yeah, I remember reading that headline. Yeah, now is a good time maybe to get a discussion going. If you guys can tell me what assets you're trading, then we can go ahead and check out a couple of charts, because there's not too much going on today, right? We had that QSBO come out. We reviewed that. We're going to do a stream later tonight for the yen pairs and New Zealand here, because RBNZ is coming right up, and then we have Udea coming out, saying a few words here. Looks like the yen is holding up pretty nicely here. Each. These are still pretty positive spreads there. Well, hopefully Ashiba gets what he asks for and gets that meeting with Trump. DXY still falling there. And then when is Dolly speaking? Oh, he's speaking much later today. So yeah, we're just going to keep an eye on things over the next couple hours here. Let's see. All right, not trading anything. Gotta wait 2 days to clear. Been 5 days trading requirement on account. Gotcha. Well, those are just requirements of prop firm trading, my man. Those are the rules you sign up for. Nothing terribly crazy out of that. I was thinking on particularly slow days, like today, that I might do a little bit of programming on the side. So I'll have a trading window open. And then once we've actually covered all the news and whatever, we can just get a bit of programming done for like 30 minutes or so. Let's see, anything coming down the pike here? All the Micron stuff coming through. more political stuff.
So good morning, everyone, and let's take a look at the sentiment for the US session. Global
Please.
equities recovered, and some early indications of calm returned to Wall Street after the largest three-day drop since 2020, with investors focusing on the possibility of US trade discussions. US equities futures advanced, with Nvidia leading the Magnificent Seven tech megacaps higher in pre-market trade. Apple gained after the iPhone maker's shares fell 19% in the previous 3 trading days, its worst 3-day decline since July 2001.
July 2001. Yeah, Apple's gonna have a gap up day after falling like a brick.
Also, Trump made a series of comments yesterday about his anticipated tariffs, but he provided little clarification about what he wants in exchange for lower taxes, whether he's willing to grant relief at all. He rejected a proposal from the EU to eliminate tariffs on all bilateral trade in industrial goods with the US and threatened China with an additional 50% import tax. Treasuries and the dollar remain stable. And the Treasuries recovered from yesterday's severe losses, with longer dated rates rising to their highest level since March 2020. Investors will watch bond offerings on Tuesday to see if there is a crack in demand, with the US expected to issue 3 and 10-year notes as well as 30-year bonds. Oil prices remain stable after a 3-day decline, and gold climbed higher. On the docket, very quiet today in regards to releases. We get the US selling $58 billion of 3-year notes. Speaker-wise, though, there's quite a few of them. So we have Holtzman at 9 a.m. Eastern Time, Cipollone at 9:30, 9:50, USTR's Greer testifies. Bank of England's Lombardelli speaks at 12 p.m., Fed's Daily at 2 p.m., and at 3 p.m. we have Trump participating in an executive order signing event called Unleashing America's Energy. Good luck.
Thank you very
China's
much.
Premier Lee says China's macroeconomic policies this year have fully taken into account various uncertainties and have sufficient reserves policy tools. That's according to Xinhua News. Also, just seeing here, South Korea's acting President Han held a phone call with Trump, according to Yonhap. Premier Lee says China is fully capable of hedging against adverse external influences.
All right. Nothing crazy so far. Want to see the colors clearly. Yep, nothing. Nothing to be terribly concerned about at the moment. Just waiting for U.S. equity markets to open up and for news to start hitting the wire here for today.
China's Premier Lee adds that China's resolute measures are not only to safeguard its sovereignty, security, and development interests, but also to defend international trade rules and international fairness and justice.
Apple is planning to send more iPhones to the US from India to offset the cost of China tariffs. Okay. Go ahead and put that in the equities chat. For all the bear market recoveries, leaving the S&P since the 1800s, according to Goldman. These are the percent declines. Average decline is 36%, median is 32%. Average event-driven decline is 27%. So there's probably a bit more
China's
to go on the
China will
downside.
continue to strengthen cooperation with the EU and other nations.
Yeah, well, the EU kind of has a bone to pick with China. So we'll see how feasible that is. Man, New Zealand's doing pretty good right now. Doing pretty all right, huh? Man, I wonder why the Aussie yield spreads are so bad right now. Go ahead and check it out. Ooh.
JP Morgan now expects back-to-back interest rate cuts from the ECB in the next 4 meetings to reach a terminal rate of 1.5%.
Okay. So, much more dovish ECB. It's probably not going to... Is that 4 cuts? Yeah, JP Morgan now expects back-to-back rate cuts in the next 4 meetings to reach a terminal rate. Yeah, so that's
Regards
4
to
rate
Micron
cuts.
earlier on, Micron shares now rising to pre-market high, up 5%.
Really? Let's go ahead and check out Micron.
Of course.
Yeah, Micron's doing pretty good right now. One of the better performing, one of the better looking charts we've seen so far off the low of yesterday. Yeah, I don't have crazy commentary to give today. I didn't have crazy commentary to give yesterday. Frankly, I was getting my ear blown off from everyone's opinion yesterday about what Trump should be doing, what he shouldn't be doing, how he should have been doing stuff. Everyone talking about tariffs and the different implications and the different rationales for how to interpret the tariffs. There's so much noise yesterday, especially. Yesterday was such a noisy day, man. Yesterday was really a day where I benefited from just turning off. Like, the only 2 people, I made a post about this actually over on X. Here, I'll go ahead and bring it up here. Yeah, emotions are so high today. Some people's heads are flying away like a balloon. Out of all the commentary on Black Monday that I've heard, the best was from Alpha Investments and Trader Nick. Oh god, there's 3 responses there. Three spam engagements. Great. But I'm kind of in just a Zen mode. I'm not going too deep into checking out news and everyone's opinions, right? I'm listening to people from the US administration. I'm listening to how other governments are actually responding. And I don't want to read rumor after rumor. And also a lot of people who were giving their opinions yesterday were like so behind the curve. They're like, oh my god, there's this new bit of information to help set expectations around tariffs. I'm like, dude, there were like 3 or 4 examples of that I ran into yesterday. And all of the pieces of information they were discussing, excuse me, all the pieces of the information they were discussing were things that we've known for at least a week or 2. So you know, as much as I don't have crazy commentary to add right now, it's because at least I have already spent. I try to do my work ahead of time here, guys. I'm not freaking out or overwhelmed by all this stuff that's going on because I have been very aggressively following and trading, getting exposure to all these things that have been happening. Like day to day to day, month to month to month, reading literally thousands of emails that I get in my research inbox, talking to other traders, making sure, right, that I read these feeds and catch up on them. And now I'm making a new set of lists here. So right now I have this world leaders list on X, and I just put anyone who's important politically into it. But now what I'm doing is making new lists that are for individual countries. So I have like a list for Germany and France and Italy and the UK and Greece and the US, Canada, Mexico, China, Japan, Russia, Australia, New Zealand, Brazil, Spain, Poland, Ireland, the Nordic countries, Sweden, Norway, Denmark. So I've made lists for at least those countries, just off the top of my head. And I'm just putting...
Deputy Treasury Chief Faulkner says US Treasury's plumbing is working just fine. Liquidity continues to flow in treasuries.
Okay. Liquidity continues to flow into treasuries, which should mean what? Lower US yields? Treasury prices go up, yields go down. Because it's just so, it's just the simple things, man. It's like, you know, my age, you just hear that so frequently. You're like, okay, I understand. But you just always have to remember, you know, there are guys who have never had experience to this sort of stuff before. And it's just important to make sure that, like, yes, there's an inverse relationship between bond prices and bond yields. It's important to know that, right? But then again, those are a lot of the guys who haven't even taken an economics 101 class, a micro or a macroeconomics class. That's just basic stuff that should have been taught in school or learned in school. Zen here, state 2, Ari. Very good to see. Oh yeah. Let's go ahead and check out how that Aussie's doing. How's the trade holding up? It's doing a little better. It's okay.
Zelensky says he ordered officials to obtain
Really?
explanation from China regarding its soldiers fighting in Ukraine. And says that Kiev's forces fought 6 Chinese soldiers in eastern Ukraine and took 2 of them prisoner. And Zelensky says one more country has joined Russia's war against Ukraine, and that he expects the US reaction to this.
Chinese soldiers captured in Ukraine. Wow. Okay.
Also, China's Premier Li says that China has ample policy tools to offset external impacts. Just saying that to EU's von der Leyen. Falklander says that Gensler implemented a lot, and we're having to start addressing. We will also start removing some more onerous rules. And ACC climate rule doubles the cost of compliance. Fitch Rating says major currency strengthened against US dollar despite tariffs. Zelensky says that Chinese citizens captured in Donetsk region fighting.
Yeah, that's kind of a big deal. Kiev fought 6 Chinese soldiers in eastern Ukraine, took 2 prisoner. I wonder how significant that's going to be, specifically in the whole idea that, oh, China will be alongside as a partner with the United States in creating a neutral ceasefire deal between the Ukrainians and the Russians.
US corporate high-grade bond sales restart as credit stabilizes.
Because while the US might have sent a lot of military equipment to Ukraine, first off, that's the last administration. Those people aren't in charge anymore. Trump is the one pushing super hard for peace.
Says bank overregulation moves activity to shadow sector.
And while the Chinese also were pushing for peace and wanted to be involved in the negotiations, to now see that they had soldiers there, like we're gonna see how significant that is, because whether or not these people were citizens or soldiers, right? China regarding its soldiers fighting in Ukraine versus Zelensky now saying Chinese citizens. So if these people were just mercenaries, or so long these people were not affiliated with the People's Liberation Army, the PLA, then this is probably going to be okay. It won't be a big deal. And China will be able to just brush it off. Plus, it was only 6 people, right? Compared to, how many people did North Korea send? Let's ask Rock. How many soldiers did North Korea send to the Ukrainian war? Initially deployed 11 to 12,000 troops, and then sent a further 1 to 3,000 troops in January, February of this year. So it's between 12 and 15,000 troops were sent. Casualty estimates also vary, with reports indicating between 3,000 to 4,000 of those troops have already been killed or injured already by early 2025. So there's probably 10,000 active North Korean soldiers at the front in Russia, Ukraine. And then here we're talking about 6, maybe citizens, maybe soldiers from China. So nothing to get your panties up in a bunch. And it's really something I'm not so sure, unless Zelensky was really certain that these people were spies or soldiers, I don't think. I really don't think Zelensky should have even done a press conference talking about it. BP puts brakes on plan to make clean jet fuel at Spanish plant. Yep, and more people are talking about the JP Morgan rate cut expectations increase out of the ECB. Iran approaches U.S. nuclear talks with caution as tensions rise over sanctions and military threats. Yeah, today is going to be probably more focused on political stuff, it seems. Like, we have some economic data coming out here, but it seems mostly like a day where we're going to get some new information on future central bank expectations getting updated. Excuse me. And some politics. It seems like that'll be the same deal for tomorrow, too, if I'm not mistaken, right? So here's tomorrow's economic calendar. We have another central bank speech, FOMC minutes, another central bank speech, another Fed speech, PPI out of Japan, another ECB speech. Yeah, so the next 2 days are really going to be central bank focused, central bank and politics focused. So if the stock market was going to recover, the next 2 days actually would be pretty good, unless there's a major political shift that occurs. I could see the stock market recovering and risk on equities recovering generally over the next 2 days. Unless there's something that comes down the wire from Trump or Xi or von der Leyen or someone in Germany, Merz. Essentially, unless a key political figure comes out and rocks the boat over the next 2 days, we're mostly just going to be listening to the central bankers speak. And that'll probably reduce the volatility a bit, volatility expectations over the next couple of days. Let's see here. How about Thursday? U.S. core inflation and CPI. Yeah, that's the big one. So I would be all right with saying volatility slows down over the next 2 days going into US CPI. And then initial jobless claims. Yeah. Then on Friday, UK. Oh, then we have UK GDP. That's going to be a big one. Then on Friday, ECB speeches, some inflation. Spain, PPI, and then consumer sentiment. That'll have future inflation expectations. That'll probably come in pretty. That's going to be quite noisy. Inflation expectations are probably going to be quite noisy at the moment. Not really sure how useful this print's going to end up being. Then Fed Williams speaks. Okay. So it seems like the major thing on the docket, at least for the UK, is going to be GDP, and then for the US is going to be the CPI. You have business New Zealand PMIs, but we just got that quarterly outlook out of New Zealand, which already pointed in the right direction effectively. So things are looking like they'll go pretty risk on into the end of the week unless something rocks the boat politically. Yeah. So let's go ahead and hop out of this trade here. And we'll wait till we get something a bit cleaner here. I mean, Euro looks pretty all right. How's the yields looking there? These are still looking pretty neutral. How about New Zealand? How's New Zealand holding up? Yeah, I'd like to see some improvement going forward here. Go ahead and slap on the
Saudi Foreign
ranges.
Minister will visit the US on Tuesday, according to an official source.
Already at the tails here, except here for pound. And already smacked the tail there on euro. All right. So, not a crazy day today. I think hopping out here was going to be the right choice. So let's go ahead and set the style of this. Red, red, red. There we go. So, there we go. So what's that? 5-6 pips. Not a big deal after making 50 over here from this one earlier today, or technically yesterday, right? Yeah. I'll be watching and checking if any more political things hit the wire. Otherwise,
Morgan sees an additional hit of 0.5% to the euro area GDP forecast,
Oh.
making total GDP hit from trade war to 1.5% by the end of 2026, which will still allow euro area to avoid a recession.
Okay, that's not a great update. Yeah, so nothing crazy. Nothing crazy yet. Otherwise, it'll be pretty smooth sailing for the rest of the week, risk on wise. Hello, Dan. Good morning. Yeah, I think I've reasoned my way into setting more positive expectations into the end of the week here. Just got to stay on top of, again, comments from politicians that rock the boat. Any new major decisions I mean, hell, there could be announcements on tariff negotiations. Black Monday returned negative 0.23%. Oh yeah, did we get the stock heat map update? Nope. This is just in the last hour. Things are looking a bit more green here. But yeah, glad I hopped out of this. This thing looks like it's probably gonna make a run for a higher spot. That could be the low for the month. Could well be the low for the month. Here, let's increase the setting here. Only one higher high gets made. I wouldn't be surprised if we do something along these lines. We just kind of peter up and jolt around into the end of the month. That's what I'm starting to get the impression of what's going to happen next intermediate term. Hello, Max. So what do you guys think? Do you think that's this breakdown here on, okay, we don't have too many crazy economic events coming up in the future. We don't have too much crazy uncertainty on the economic side of things until we actually see a few months of tariffs pass? Because I was going through this stuff here, all these feeds, and I saw one post that said something along the lines of it's going to take several months, like up to 12 months potentially, to actually see impacts from the tariffs economically. Like, well, no, that's impacting expectations a lot. People are adjusting right now to it. Maybe this economic adjustment, maybe whatever businesses are doing to keep themselves in business now are doing things in such a way that it's going to mitigate inflation in a lot of these countries. It'll hit growth in a lot of these countries. But the negative effect of just having businesses disappear and crumble away will be largely mitigated. I don't know. JD Vance. Oh, there's video here of the Chinese people that they captured. What the hell? What the hell? What did Zelensky post here? Our military has captured 2 Chinese citizens who are fighting as part of the Russian army. This happened on Ukrainian territory in Donetsk region. Identification documents, blank cards, and personal data were found in their possession. We have information suggesting that there are many more Chinese citizens in the occupiers unit than just these 2. We are certainly verifying all these facts and yeah, he hasn't confirmed this stuff yet. He's just going willy-nilly trying to rock the boat. He's just trying to rock the boat. Oh, Mike Johnson is saying something here. Let's see here. U.S. fiscal policy related stuff. By passing the Senate amendment, we can get the next stage in the reconciliation process and draft the essential legislation. This is how we will deliver the American First agenda. Okay.
Waiting on. We've been working on this in the House. We've got to pass that, the Senate amendment, so that we can get to the next stage. The next stage in the process to deliver on President Trump's America First agenda is to get to the point we've all been waiting on. We've been working on this in the House for over a year to get to this point to draft the actual reconciliation bill. And in that bill, Sean, we're going to do, the reason the president calls it the one big beautiful bill is because we're going to deliver on all these promises we made to the people, all the America First policies. We're going to restore the border, make sure we have the funding to do that well and right and permanently. Sean, we're going to add American energy dominance provisions. We're going to make sure we restore peace through strength, put in all the funding mechanisms to handle that and follow through with the president's orders, while also incorporating what DOGE is doing to make government work more efficiently and effectively. And most importantly, Sean, maybe equally important to all that, is that we're going to make sure we don't have the largest tax increase in U.S. history at the end of this year, which is what would happen by default if the president's Tax Cuts and Jobs Act from the first administration expire, which is what will happen. So all that will be moving forward, but we have to keep the House and Senate Republicans working together as one team. We unify, we will accomplish this mission.
All righty. U.S. fiscal policy update. Let's see here. House Majority Leader Steve Scalise.
My colleagues, look, I've been urging my colleagues in the House to move on this bill as quickly as possible for a lot of reasons. Yeah. One is to get the economy booming. There is a lot of pent up, and you probably talk to people like I do that say there's trillions of dollars sitting on the sidelines waiting to see if there's going to be tax certainty. Because if there's a $4.5 trillion tax hike, meaning if Congress does nothing, that's the kind of taxes that go up on every American. Nobody would be immune from it, and it would crush the economy. Yeah. So we need to get this tax bill in place to give not only certainty to the economy, but to bring that investment back in and get real economic growth. Look, I've been urging my colleagues.
All right. So he's just whipping people in. What's that? China plans to ban on Hollywood movies as part of its trade war. Okay. What are some of these other things going here? All right. The 60/40 portfolio is currently down 5.9% in 2025. That's actually not so bad.
Bild newspaper says there is a strong will to come to a coalition agreement today between German conservatives and social democrats.
What's this say? Oh, that's great. We're no longer using Google Translate now. We're using Grok to actually translate this stuff. Oh, fantastic. Google Translate was so bad, man. Let's see here. Low emission zones want to immediately abolish this measure of social segregation. What are low emission zones in France? I'm about to learn something new, guys. What are low emission zones in France? are more precisely zones, all right, are designated areas in urban environments where access is restricted to certain vehicles based on their emissions levels. Oh, that's you're restricting movement. Wow. Cars before 1997 may be banned entirely from going into these zones. Wow. That is... Wow. Most French cities with populations over 150,000 have these zones in place, though the rules vary. Paris and Lyon enforce stricter standards due to persistent pollution, while cities like Marseille or Rouen have adjusted restrictions where air quality has improved. Okay. Wow. I remember I went to a few places in California that had free speech zones, where the policy was you're not allowed to say things that could hurt other people's feelings unless you stood in the free speech zone. Yeah. What bull, right? Oh, wow. Yeah, that was good to hop out. That was good to hop out. What a smart move. Let's see if that theory holds up. That theory of volatility over the next 2 days, maybe going into even next week, reduces. Especially if we get some new information regarding, well, first off, let's start off with the two things I mentioned earlier, which are we're mostly just getting ECB commentary.
So in about 5 minutes time, about 6 minutes, we get the Red Book year on year. Prior, 4.8%.
Yeah, Red Book. It's not usually something major, Red Book. We'll go ahead and turn off financial juice here.
Voice news disconnected.
So what is it? There are some major economic events, but they're more spaced out going forward. So we'll see how those, like for example, US CPI comes out. That's going to be the big one. But then outside of those days leading into those events, things should be pretty stable. We should see a relief, a dead cat bounce at minimum. If you want to use those terms, dead cat bounce, right? Over the next couple of days, as we just get mostly central bank expectation updates from all these Fed speeches. And then from there, we just have to watch out for just political news and political updates and tariff negotiations and non-tariff policy updates. Outside of that, it seems, yeah, it just seems like we'll have pretty smooth sailing. So just have your face in the squawk. Have your face into breaking news feeds. Oh, Japan-US missile defense project is model for cooperation. All right. Oh, Bill Ackman posting more stuff this morning here. Someone has misinterpreted my thoughts on tariffs. I'm totally supportive of Trump using tariffs to eliminate tariffs and unfair trading practices of our trading partners. I'm advocating for a 30, 60, or 90-day pause before the tariffs are implemented tomorrow to enable negotiations. I mean, that very well could happen. It very well could happen, this exact scenario. Trump absolutely could do this. Because Trump literally has just done exactly what Ackman is saying here. At least 2 or 3 times this year. Remember the tariffs with China and the tariffs with Canada and the tariffs with Mexico. Getting put on, getting held off, getting put on, getting held off. Trading those was interesting. Trading those was good. But man, generally, I mean, I'd be ready in this scenario. I'd be ready in this scenario. Maybe the thing is maybe what the deal ends up being is, oh, once you start a dialogue with the United States, we will pause putting on tariffs for 30 days. And we will continue putting on 30-day pauses so long the negotiations are developing well. Just like what Trump is doing with the TikTok ban extension. How he just keeps extending the hold on the TikTok ban as negotiations progress on that. So I actually agree with Ackman here. I like this idea. I like what Ackman is proposing here. No, not necessarily. You realize if he just pauses, no one will take him seriously, right? I don't think that's the case. Pausing just prolonged. No. If a country is coming in good faith and doing negotiations, and the negotiations are active, and the negotiators are reporting to Trump that progress is being made and they're getting concessions that they want, and then they have to go to Trump or to some businesses and get some feedback on, okay, what about this scenario here? Can we do this with these countries? How would that impact your business? And then reporting back to Trump like, okay, here's how these negotiations are going. Yes, we recommend another 30-day extension on top of this, so then we can continue this. We expect it to have this probably figured out in the next 2 or so weeks. But also, you can do tariffs in a piecemeal fashion where it's like, okay, we'll reduce the tariffs by this much for this concession, and then by this much for that concession, and we'll do this bit on the US side for this policy on your side. I think this is perfectly reasonable negotiations to step forward and do kind of a rolling release of policy and economic improvements. And if they don't come to the table, just slap the full tariff on them, right? So I think what Ackman is suggesting here is, I'd be in favor of this, yeah. And it's something Trump has already been doing. So I think it's something Trump would actually be open to. So long he actually saw the promise of those negotiations doing well and actually having negotiation teams work out. And actually, the very first country we might see that happen with is in Japan. Because remember, I mean, I can just bring up Trump's Truth Social, right? Let's scroll down. All right. Let's scroll down here. Where's the Japan post that he made the other day? My budget. Yeah, it's still not showing up here. Yeah, Japanese. Yeah, there we go. That's what it is. Countries from. Yeah, I was searching Japan, so I wonder why I wasn't finding that. Countries from all around the world are talking to us. Tough but fair parameters are being set. Spoke with the Japanese Prime Minister this morning. He is sending a top team to negotiate. They have treated the U.S. very poorly. They don't take our cars, right? I think the way Japan starts this off will probably set the bar for how other countries move forward. And that would actually be very good politically for Ishiba as well. If he's viewed as the template for how to do good deals with Trump and get out of the way of getting hit by these tariffs. So yeah, I'm in line there with Ackman on that front. But we'll see if that ends up being something that's viable and is actually put on the table. Yep, art of the deal, Dan. Yep. U.S. tariffs threaten almost $2 trillion of investments pledged by global companies. How? Financial Times, all right. Market watchers now expect the ECB to cut rates next week and then cut perhaps twice more at the end of the year to stave off potential recession in the Eurozone. Fiscal policy, is almost certain to follow suit. Some EU governments are already talking about the need to provide cash for the hardest hit industries. France has dusted off its COVID-era job furlough support scheme. Trump's gonna meet with House Republicans at the White House. Oh, this includes lawmakers who whipped no or lean no on the budget. So that'll be pretty important here. Johnson and Trump have a lot of votes to flip. Okay. Let's see here. What does this say? Trade war. This is the demonstration of the failure of the national rally. What is happening since we were told at the RN that Donald Trump was an opportunity for France. That conversely, the EU was a threat. Oh, it's definitely a double-edged sword there. The world is finding a plausible alternative to treasuries. Bond yields look much more attractive for euro investors. I mean, sure. Yeah, so you can get more yield out of euro. Eurobonds. You think the oil term structure will flip into contango? Green is today, forward curve. Maybe. We'll see how that curve develops out into the future. Because that's pretty flat. So we'll have to see how things go longer term. All right. Nothing too crazy here showing up now. we're just going to be waiting for speeches and for Trump to do his thing later today. I'm sure we'll get some updates. But again, my main focus is more or less going to be on watching the political updates and a couple of the major economic events going on. Otherwise, things look like they'll continue holding on here. Oh, wow. Check that out. Bit of a pullback. Had that sharp rise up. How are the spreads doing? Yeah. Pretty neutral now on the euro side of things. Aussie's still pretty damn negative. New Zealand's way less negative. Way less negative. Oh, pound is actually pretty neutral at the moment. How about the CAD? I think there's negative, yeah. But this is now positive for the Canadian dollar, right? Red yield spreads are positive for the Canadian dollar here. Short term, over the last 2 days, it's moving against the Canadian, but it hasn't done much as far as price movement. You can see the fall through here. So we'll see how this follows through going to tomorrow. We'll have a stream later tonight. And we'll, what is it? We have RB&Z, consumer confidence, and the BOJ speech from Udea. So we'll get an update around these things, and we'll see how markets move around London Open. We'll see if that risk on expectation I have holds up of a steady weakening of the US dollar over the next 36 hours or so. And then more or less a flat pause going into US CPI to see how that prints. And if it comes in low, well, it's going to add more fuel to the fire on setting higher Fed rate cut expectations. All right. So I think with that all said, I'll go ahead and cut the stream here. I'll go ahead and see you guys at the stream later tonight. It's nice, chill morning stream. Nothing crazy. I'll see you guys in a bit.